Coming up next, the story of a perfect song. It may be the 80s greatest pocket symphony. It harkens back to the heavenly vocal harmonies of the Beach Boys and the Beatles at their peak. It has one of the most powerful and enduring vocal duets of all time, with a gruffy voice underdog and a high-pitched tenor legend who somehow blended perfectly even though they were so different. Their voices came together, it fit like a glove. And we have one of them with us today to recount the hilarious session that birthed this barn burner. In fact, during the recording, the legendary producer behind it and the co-lead singer, was the other singer on it, they played a practical joke on today's guest that saw him recording one line in the song dozens of times, and it happened to be the punchline to their joke. All these years later, he admits it was a brilliant send-up. Plus, the last second added on verse, they actually needed another verse, and the original writer was off the grid on vacation. And when they finally got a hold of him, he actually came up with the verse over a payphone in a winter storm in like seconds. It's a great story and interview coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you got psyched as a kid for the holiday specials, from the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you're going to dig this channel of pure musical nostalgia. Whenever you heard that special thing or saw that, you're always excited. I was. Make sure to click the bell and subscribe so you always know when our new interviews or our new shows are coming out. The dynamic combination of Chicago's Peter Cetera and Bill Champlin truly created some of the most outstanding dual vocal performances in the 80s. No joke. These guys, they were so amazing together. But sadly, even though Chicago is one of the longest running bands of all time, their paths only crossed for a mere 2 albums. Today, we're paying tribute to these vocal powerhouses, placing a little extra emphasis on Champlin, because we've got some great interview footage with him I've been wanting to share for a while. As for our featured song today, it's one of my Chicago favorites. From their 1984 album, Chicago 17, it's Hard Habit to Break. A true pocket symphony of the 80s. So let's get into it. For 1969 to 1978, Chicago was on an incredible roll. They released 12 albums that certified platinum or multi-platinum, 21 top 40 singles in there. Chicago was a legitimate hit-making juggernaut. 13 of those singles would break the top 10, including the number one, If You Leave Me Now. And if you leave me now. That one came from 1976's Chicago 10. But with the 80s on the horizon, Chicago entered into a dark period, which included the untimely death of guitarist Terry Kath, who died of an accidental gunshot wound. Such a tragic loss for sure. Also during this time, record sales seriously declined on 3 straight albums released in 78, 79, and 80. The band was also dropped by their longtime label Columbia Records. But as Chicago battled through the adversity, they made a new deal that Warner Brothers Records put to them, which led to an invaluable collaboration with producer-composer David Foster, the great David Foster. Cue the entrance of songwriter, guitarist, and keyboardist Bill Champlin in 1981. Like Foster, Champlin joined Chicago for the making of Chicago 16. But Bill's music career started long before that. Even by 1967, when he'd formed the Sons of Champlin, Bill was already an experienced musician. Sons of Champlin released 7 albums before disbanding in 1977. After the Sons broke up, Bill moved to LA, where he worked as a session vocalist between 1977 and 1985. In the process, he worked for the likes of Patti LaBelle, Elton John, Boz Scaggs, Donna Summer, also Nancy Wilson, Amy Grant, Neil Diamond, and Kenny Rogers, to name a few. In 1978, he released his first solo album, Single. And in 1979, he won his first Grammy Award for co-writing Earth, Wind & Fire's After the Love Is Gone. Champlin and Chicago, they were a remarkable match for sure. But even more specifically, Champlin and Cetera's vocals perfectly complemented each other. I mean, the two were a double threat combo that could go toe-to-toe with the best of them. When Champlin joined the band, Chicago hadn't had a top 10 since Baby What a Big Surprise in 1977.
Baby, what a big surprise.
But that was all about to change. Chicago 16 was a major comeback for the band, ending their top 10 drought in a big way with the Hot 100 #1, Hard to Say I'm Sorry. That was just the beginning of Chicago's historic 80s run.
It's hard for me to say I'm sorry.
I mean, the 80s were a period of commercial renaissance for this band, and their next album, Chicago 17, that would become the juggernaut of their entire discography. 17 is actually Chicago's all-time biggest studio album, selling over 6 million copies in the US alone. Actually peaked at number 4 on the Billboard 200. Now, much of the credit for this resurgence, it's got to go to legend David Foster, who after Chicago 16 rejoined the band for 17 and 18. Foster placed an emphasis on the band's soaring ballads, which were, of course, fueled by the vocals of Cetera and Champlin. As Foster steered the group further into adult contemporary territory, he also pushed the band's renowned horn section a little further into the background. Now, this was a point of contention within the band and a disappointment to a lot of longtime fans who were not used to the keyboard-driven ballads of the 80s. But you got to give Foster credit. His new formula worked like a charm. Released on May 14th of 84, Chicago 17 featured 4 hit singles: Stay the Night, You're the Inspiration, Along Comes a Woman, and Hard Habit to Break. Quite simply, Hard Habit to Break, it's a pop masterpiece. It's a no-holds-barred, leave-it-all-on-the-field, hard-on-your-sleeve ballad if there ever was one. I know a lot of people love You're the Inspiration. I do too. Great song that's been popular over the years. But for my money, Hard Habit to Break is the crown jewel of this album. I mean, lyrically, Hard Habit to Break, it's all about moving on. Or at least trying to. The song acknowledges that the struggle is real, very real. Letting go of someone you love, I mean, that's hard enough, but when they don't love you anymore and they find somebody else instead, it doesn't get harder than that in relationships. And what's worse, the song's narrator has realized just how much he loves her too little, too late. Sadly, there seems to be no saving the relationship. Problem that was perpetuated in many songs on 80s radio. Same kind of deal here. But now with the power of Cetera and Champlin, let's get to this. Cetera and Champlin team up to seamlessly drive home this song's potent emotional message. Alternating lead on the verses, it's a powerful 1-2 punch if there ever was one. But man, when you get to that chorus, it's an all-out assault on the heart, I'm telling you. Cetera, he kicks it off singing, "Being without you, it takes a lot of getting used to. Should learn to live with it, but I don't want to." Then he ups the emotional fireworks. "Being without you, it's all a big mistake. Instead of getting easier, it's the hardest thing to take." The way he sings this, Peter Cetera, he's just special. There's no other voice like it. This sets up Champlin to deliver a booming knockout blow. "I'm addicted to you, babe. You're a hard habit to break." The way he sings, Champlin, he's a champ. You're a hard habit to break. This really is 80s Chicago at their very best, really the 80s at their best. Basically, it's Chicago's big blockbuster pocket symphony. I mean, just like the Beach Boys did back in the mid-60s. In my opinion, it's a masterpiece. It is. Foster's production, it's truly inspired. You just got to get yourself a pair of great headphones and listen to the detail. Listen to the heart-wrenching pleas of Cetera and Champlin. There's so much integrity in these performances, it'll wound you. You know, Chicago wrote most of their own songs, but in this case, they called on the talented songwriter Steve Kipner. He'd previously written Olivia Newton-John's monster hit Physical, actually the #1 song of the 80s. Okay, so Steve Kipner, he actually teamed up with John Parker for Hard Habit to Break, and Chicago loved the results. Only after he was finished, there was just one problem. 3 verses, a chorus, a bridge, and an outro. It wasn't enough. The band wanted to add a 4th verse, but Kipner, along with his wife Lizzie, had left for a winter vacation to a mountain resort. Said Kipner about it, "Lizzie and I had taken a trip to Big Bear, and the weather was terrible. We were in our cabin with a blizzard outside, and suddenly the manager of the cabin knocks on our door. He said, there's an urgent message to call David Foster immediately. You get a message like that, you're going to call David Foster." With no phone in the cabin, though, Steve and Lizzie jumped in their car, drove through the snow, through the blizzard, until they found a phone booth at a 7-Eleven convenience store. Foster picked up and he told Kipner they were recording Hard Habit to Break, but they needed another verse. Picking up the story, Steve said, "So we sat in the car. I urgently tried to write the 4th verse while the group was waiting for the lyrics back at the studio. Lizzie helped me write one of the lines, and then I called in the lines for the 4th verse. It was pretty intense, writing the verse in a blizzard, and then conferring with John Parker about the lyrics, and then calling the studio." I mean, that's insane. Written in a 7-Eleven parking lot during a snowstorm, and then repeated over the payphone to David Foster in Chicago. Man, was it worth it, though. The 4th verse adds so much depth to the song. After all these years, I'm still trying to shake it. I'm still trying to shake it. Doing much better. They say that it just takes time. But deep in the night, it's an endless fight. I can't get you out of my mind. I can't get you out of my mind. Oh my gosh. Champlin kills it on this. It really intensifies the song's feelings of desperate longing. I mean, especially, like I said, in Champlin's delivery of that last line. But the insight into this top-tier song, it doesn't end there. I want to get into an exclusive interview that I did with Bill Champlin and let him tell you more about the track. Here it is. No idea how much I care. So Hard Habit to Break, the part that I loved that really worked with you guys was the second verse where, and I don't usually do this, but I have to break this song down for a minute. All these years, when you say all these years, I'm still trying to... Yeah, after all of these years, I'm still trying to shake. All of these years, I'm still trying to shake. Man, I can't get you out of my mind. The way you guys go back and forth, like that's one of the best verses in a pop song. I can't get you out of my mind.
Well, it was that was kind of written in. Steve Kipner wrote the song. And Steve and I always forget the other writer, but I know there were 2 writers on it.
John Lewis Parker. I was going to say it was three names I remember.
And at any rate, Steve's just such a good songwriter, and that was all kind of written into the way, you know, like da 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 da, you know, kind of cross voicing, and he kind of did it that way. He actually wrote it as a three part.
Oh, really?
And my melody was I mean, they tried it with Robert on the first melody, and somebody somewhere along the line went, "We got to get Cetera's voice on the first line." You know, he's just one of those guys. There's a handful of cats out there, and I think you got Peter Cetera, who's I think in that sort of same strata of like, you listen to 2 notes, you know who he is. You listen to me for a couple of notes, and if you know me at all, you know
very distinct, no question.
It's just like that kind of thing. And they just kind of went, this isn't really down Robert's alley. And it seems to be down Bill's and Peter's, so let's just go with those 2 and have Peter replace the first line. So it went Peter to me to Peter, before it went Robert to me to Peter. The way it originally was, the way it originally written.
Really?
And then he didn't, on the second verse, he didn't have a full verse. I called him on the phone. I said, before we record this, can we get a full second verse? He says, yeah, give me a minute. I said, well, you can call me back. He says, no, just give me a minute. 1 minute later, here it is.
Really?
That's how good Steve is.
Wow.
He just knocked it off like that. Yeah.
The other thing, too, is It was really a pocket symphony, reminding me of what the Beach Boys used to do, that song, Hard Habit to Break, because of all the strings and everything.
Yeah. Jeremy Lubbock, just a great arranger. And actually, I first met David Foster when we were doing a Sons album. And he was just brought in as a string arranger. And I've always loved David's arrangements because there's just no bullshit. And there's always chill notes in the viola section. There's always these notes that you're not even really aware of those notes. They're kind of in the harmonies, but boy, there's a movement there that always happens. Jeremy is a way bigger, a lot of great snowy stuff, like a little more orchestral in that sense, rather than just string parts. And Jeremy did a bang up job on the string section for Hard Habit.
My favorite vocal on the entire song is at the very end when you say, I'm addicted to you.
Yeah, and I doubled all that stuff.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. And it was another thing was great as well. It's the first time we got around to the first verse. He says, "You got to sing, I'm addicted to you, baby." And Foster's on the machine. He goes, "I'm a dick." Okay, double. He said, "Okay, I'm addicted." I'm singing it. "I'm a dick," and he hits the off. "Listen to this, Champlin. I'm a dick." Doubled. Yeah. Okay, we've done that. Now let's go do it. What do you say we record the record now? So, which tells you that Foster's got a pretty nutty sense of humor.
So Hard Habit to Break was released as the second single from Chicago 17, and it did not disappoint. It went to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, kept from number 1 only by Billy Ocean's Caribbean Queen. That was at number 2, and Stevie Wonder's I Just Called to Say I Love You at number 1.
Now we're sharing to say I love you.
This should have been a number 1 hit, right? It also reached number 3 on the Adult Contemporary chart, and it went to number 2 on the US Cashbox chart. Internationally, it went to number 20 in Australia, went to number 8 in the UK, number 5 in Canada, and it went to number 3 in Ireland. Chicago 17, like I mentioned, it was massively successful. However, success, it came with a price, the departure of one Peter Cetera. 17 elevated Peter Cetera to superstar status, and amid some bitterness and contention, he did leave the group in '85 to go solo. And he had immediate success. He scored a number 1 hit with the theme from The Karate Kid 2, Glory of Love, an 80s classic, of course. It was the summer of '86, and he released his solo Chicago debut, Solitude Solitaire. Along with Glory of Love, it featured another number 1 hit, The Next Time I Fall, the duet with Amy Grant. More albums and AC hits would follow from there. One Good Woman, such a great song. That went to number 4 in '88. After All, a great duet with Cher in '89 went to number 6. Cetera scored 22 AC Top 40 hits and 5 number 1s. As for Chicago, the band replaced Cetera with Jason Scheff, and they continued to show up strong through the 80s, released in Chicago 18 and 86 and 19 and 88. The latter went platinum. Together, these two albums combined for 5 top 10 hits, including the number 3, Will You Still Love Me, and the number 1, Look Away, actually the biggest number 1 hit of 1989. Actually, it almost became a Cheap Trick song. We talked about that a few weeks ago. After Chicago 19, the band released the mother of all soft rock greatest hits albums, the iconic 80s Chicago compilation, Greatest Hits 1982 to 1989. This was Chicago's 3rd greatest hits album, if you're keeping track. It's one that just about every Gen Xer owned. They got to be lying about the sales on this thing. It has to be over 10 million copies. I mean, it was the ultimate 80s love song collection. Every girl I knew in junior high up through high school had this album. And a lot of the guys had it too. They just didn't want to admit it. I should know, I was one of them. I wasn't afraid to admit it. I mean, every track on this album is pure 80s gold. Finishing out the 80s, Chicago did pretty well without Cetera, and actually, believe it or not, they were only halfway through their catalog at this point. Since then, Chicago has released 18 more albums. Their most recent, Chicago 38, came out in 2022. But I have to take a second and give some overdue credit to Mr. Bill Champlin. He's one of the most underrated singers of the 80s, and I would bet my life that Chicago, they wouldn't have sniffed the top 10 after Peter Cetera left the band without Champlin's inspired vocals. We took him to number 1, like I said, in 89 with Look Away. He had numerous hits that he sang on, I Don't Want to Live Without Your Love, and You're Not Alone, among many others.
I don't want you to see me this way.
As for Champlin, he would remain with the band until 2009. That made his tenure with the band 28 years. It's actually 10 years longer than Cetera. You can catch his brilliant contributions on Chicago 16 all the way through 32, and his solo stuff, and with the Sons of Champlin. I can't tell you how many times I listened to this song as a kid when I was absolutely heartbroken over a girl. I mean, I must have put it on 20 mixtapes. I mean, you think you know what heartbreak is at 10 or 11 years old. And then you experience it for real in your 20s or your 30s, and this song becomes oh so real. It becomes a lifeline, and listening to it so many years later, I'm just shocked that Peter Cetera and Bill Champlin didn't duet more often. Together, they're a revelation, such a complementary vocal domino. But you know what? We always have this 1984 classic, and it's a hard habit to break. Sorry, I had to. Leave us a comment about Chicago and Hard Habit to Break. What are your memories of the song and of Bill Champlin and Peter Cetera in 80s Chicago? I know that there's a battle between the people that like the 70s stuff and the 80s stuff, but man, you got to tip your hat to Peter Cetera and Bill Champlin. Let's have a great discussion below. Let's celebrate it. What else would you like to see from Chicago on here? Happy to do some interviews and delve into their 70s stuff. I'm a fan of it all. Let us know. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe below. You know, it's all about keeping the music alive, everybody. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friend.